Training your core properly is one of the most important tools that we can have in our training arsenal. A lot of people glamorize being able to do 100 crunches or having washboard or six-pack abs as having a strong core. Although these are certainly contributors, there are some important variables that we want to keep in mind when strengthening our core. In this video, I want to go over what some of these important variables are, as well as go through a series of exercises that is going to help you build a six-pack, if that's your jam, as well as just strengthen your core in a sustainable way. So first and foremost, when it comes to strengthening your core, we have to look at how we breathe. So our first exercise is going to be abdominal breathing. So what I'm going to get you to do here is come onto your back, and you're going to take either hand on either side of your abdominal wall. And what we're going to start to work through is starting to create some pressure into the resistance of our hands. So what I'm going to do more or less here is apply a little bit of pressure going against my abdomen. And to start with, I just want you to get used to breathing against that pressure. And if you're breathing against that pressure in an efficient manner, I should actually see your hands start to expand outwards. Now, something to watch out for here is going to be your rib cage positioning, as that is going to play a large role as to where air and pressure are being sent. If our rib cage is in this open or flared position, then it's more than likely we're going to send a lot of air into our chest, which is then going to get sent into our neck, and that's going to create an excess of stress response that we don't need. This in conjunction with the fact that it's not going to allow us to send any pressure into the areas that we're trying to target here, which are kind of the lateral portions of our abdominal wall. So what we're going to aim to do is kind of close our ribs off, not allow them to kind of be splayed out in this open position. And what this is going to do is create what I would call a wall of resistance. And this is kind of the base point that we can almost start to breathe against. And by breathing against this wall of resistance, it is more likely that we're going to start to send the breath or pressure into the lateral portions of our abdominal wall. What I would recommend here is try to spend anywhere between 1 to 2 minutes going through this breathing cycle. And first, just start with taking the inhale, kind of feeling the space or expansion get created against that resistance on the front side. And then see if you can maintain some of the pressure through the exhale. So you're not going to let all that pressure go. You're going to see if you can maintain some of it for the course of about 1 to 2 minutes. Now that we have an introduction to ribcage positioning in conjunction with proper abdominal pressure, we're going to start to apply this to a movement where we're going to be forced to stabilize a little bit more. So we're going to start to get into a high plank with an arm lift. So for this exercise, I'm going to be up on my hands and my feet as if I'm getting ready to do a push-up. And what we're going to be mindful of here is that our spine is going to stay relatively neutral as we go through this. Now, what I mean by neutral is my hips aren't sagging and all the force is just being sent into my shoulders. Or on the other side of the spectrum, my hips are way too high and I'm in this overly flexed state. What we're looking for here is that midpoint, right where everything kind of meets in the middle. And once we get to that point, what we're going to start to do is try to take the principles of the breathing that we were working on in our previous exercise, and we're just going to start to introduce that here on a very basic and introductory level. Now, if you can start to introduce the correct pressure in this position, I assure you, you are going to feel your core come online in a way that you probably didn't even think was possible. So the tough part here isn't going to be necessarily us holding the position, more so us trying to hold the pressure in accordance to the position that we're in. Now, I know you're picking this up all very quickly. You got your pressure, you got the right tension in your hands and your feet, and you're a rock star. So what we're going to start to do is we're going to lift one hand off, and we're just going to take that in front of us, which is then going to challenge our center of gravity or our center point of stability even that much more. What I like to do here is take one arm off, bring it back down, and then I will alternate, and I'll just go from side to side. And really what we're trying to do is just maintain a little bit of connection to the feet, so into the floor, and it's all going to be centered around this intra-abdominal pressure concept that we started with in our first exercise. So work this exercise for about 30 to 45 seconds. If you can do anything more than that with ease, then I would say that you're probably not putting enough effort into the exercise, and try to revisit the first exercise that we started with. For our next exercise, we are going to get into one of my favorites. It is certainly a staple of the channel at this point, and that is going to be our arm swings. Now for this exercise, what we're going to start to do is come up onto our feet, and I just want you to start by going through a gentle rotation of your body from side to side. So as you can see here, my arms are going through both an internal and external rotation. So with the one arm that goes into the external rotation, my opposite arm is going to swing into the internal rotation. So what we were doing with this exercise is we were taking elements of our first exercise where we were focusing on creating that pressure. We're also taking certain principles from our second exercise where we're working the aspect of stability, where a joint is moving away from our midpoint. And what we are starting to incorporate here is a rhythm. Now, rhythm is very important and probably one of the most underutilized aspects to training. And we want to make sure that we are incorporating that to some degree in our training program. So in this sense, instead of just trying to rigidly rotate my spine with weight, say through a transverse twist as an example, we're going to try to let some of that tension go, and we're going to try to prioritize having a little bit more rhythm, but also fluidity in our movement here. I personally use this exercise for every warm-up and almost every cool-down for every workout that I do. It is one of my favorites, as I find it just is deeply hydrating for my whole body, and I find that it just mobilizes my spine in a way that not many exercises can do. Spend anywhere between 30 seconds to a minute on this exercise, and kind of just get used to the jive of the motion, if you will. Those are very rough guidelines. It's not like you have to do 30 seconds or you have to do a minute. Take your time with it, work through the motion, and your body will certainly tell you if you need less or if you need more of it. For our last exercise in this series of how to strengthen your core properly, we are going to do some weighted rotations. So for this exercise, you are going to need a dumbbell, a kettlebell. You can probably even use a plate if you wanted to. And I would suggest going anywhere between 10, maybe all the way up to 20 pounds, depending on how strong your core is to start with. So what we're going to do here is start with the weight right in front of us. And as soon as we do this, you have to be mindful that your body is not already going into a compensation. So what this might look like is your hips might excessively shift forward. You might go into a excessively rounded posture. Your body is going to want to do a lot of different things when it has load in front of you in this way. So try to use the principles that we've been working on up until this point. Try to have some integrity in your body and see if you can keep everything relatively still and stacked as we slowly take the weight in front of us. Now that we have this weight in front of us, what we're going to do is let the weight go, and we're going to try to catch the momentum as it swings over one hip, and then we're going to come right back to our midpoint with it. Once I am at my midpoint, I'm going to alternate, and I'm going to go over my opposite side. And what we are starting to do here is take all the principles from all the different exercises that we have worked on over the course of this video, and we're bringing them into one single exercise. So this is certainly not the starting point. If you have arrived here and this is the first exercise you are starting with, shame on you. Go back to the first exercise because you need to understand the fundamentals before progressing to this. So like the Good Samaritan you are, having watched the entire video all the way up until this point, I know you have, you better have. I'm just playing with you, but all the exercises up until this point are important. So if you haven't, then from me to you, please do so. All right, so back to the exercise. So in conjunction with taking the weight in front of you and alternating it from side to side, something that you can incorporate here is shifting a little bit of your weight from one foot to the other. So what you can think about is if I'm going to swing over my left hip, then I'm going to bring a majority of my weight to my left leg. And then as I bring the weight back to the middle, I'm going to come back to a 50-50 weight distribution on either foot. From here, I'm going to swing over my opposite hip, and then that whole cycle will repeat itself. Work anywhere between 8 to 10 repetitions on either side here, so about 16 to 20 reps in total. And following this exercise, I would say almost everything in your body should be worked out and taxed in a way where you are certainly going to be strengthening your core. So as you can see, when it comes to strengthening your core, it's a lot more complex than just sitting down and doing 100 crunches. I wish it was that easy, but unfortunately it's not. Now I'm not here to tell you to not do your crunches or other ab exercises that you enjoy, But I hope throughout the course of this video, you learned something new and you learned some new concepts and principles that you can then bring to your pre-existing ab or core routine that you're already doing. Remember, a quality practice done deliberately a few times always outweighs a mindless one done 1,000 times. So watch this video again if you need to. You can bookmark it. You can come back and watch it a few months from now. You can put a reminder in your phone being like, come back and watch Mark's video on how to strengthen your core. You can do all these things. There's so many different things that you can do. So with all that out of the way, try to take these principles, apply them to your routine, because rest assured, your body as well as your core will be happy that you did. If you like this video or you found it helpful in some way, something that would help me is if you did throw it a like, that's 2 thumbs up, as well as you can subscribe to the channel if you're into content like this. I post a video once a week, typically around how to create a sustainable body. So if that's your jam, then you can come jam out with me. As always, make sure you are prioritizing and then you are optimizing for you. I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.